is going to tell us how technology changed his life. This is Martin's first speech in 2.5 years, people. Woo!
Oh my God.
He's excited to be back. Martin Kent, keep your eyes open and checkbook handy. Keep your eyes open and your checkbook handy, Martin Kent.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab your seatbelts, buckle up, and get ready for great moments in technology in the 20th century. Tiny little drum roll, please. 1903, the Wright brothers have the first sustained flight of a powered, heavier-than-air aircraft. Another little drum roll, please. 1913, the Model Ts roll off the assembly line. Another one, please. 1928, RCA launches the very first television station in New York City, of course. Another one, please. 1969, the moon landing. And, if I'm not mistaken, that was the very first year Michael Dangerfield and Bob Ransom began speaking to aliens. But I digress. They're such good sports, aren't they? One more drum roll. Perhaps the most memorable, in my humble opinion, was 1984. That was the year that Apple launched its Macintosh. The Macintosh, you'll recall, has the mouse pad, and the screen. It's the graphic interface so that as you move the mouse on the mouse pad, things happen on the screen. You can access drop-down menus. You can see the cursor, and the cursor moves around. It's, as Sheila would say, the most fun you can have with your clothes on. What was really, really great about it is that you didn't have to be a computer nerd. All the computer nerds were using the Commodore 64 and computers like that, you might recall. You had to learn a very, very difficult language called MS-DOS. Sure, Michael remembers that. Now, the Macintosh was a complete revelation. You could just take it out of the box, set it up on your desk, and you were pretty much ready to rock and roll. That was fantastic. 1984 was also the year I was at Stanford getting my master's degree. The light bulb went off. I really wanted to get this Mac. I thought if an idiot like me could use it, this is the computer for the rest of us. And it surely was. Translation, you didn't have to be a computer nerd. I was also at Stanford to get my master's degree, a master's in broadcast communications. There I am sitting with the Macintosh on my desk thinking, what am I going to do my master's thesis on? Suddenly I'm looking at the computer and thinking, this is the game changer. That was also the birth of my power of three theory. The power of three theory meant I needed 3 stories to tell the larger story. I would find 3 families that represented a spectrum of all the possibilities that this Macintosh could bring to the future. How am I going to find these? How am I going to find these 3 families? I started attending user groups. I'm living in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley was centered around Palo Alto, San Jose, where HP was, Macintosh, Apple was, Microsoft. These companies were all putting out computers which had problems for people because it was a new technology and people had to learn about them, so they created something called user groups. User groups were places where people would get together, a lot of times in school auditoriums. They'd have meetings and trade information and tips and complain because there were a lot of bugs in these computers, early computers. So I found 3 families there. The first one was kind of obvious. It was a wealthy Marin County family The father was a cardiologist. He was already using personal computers in the medical field. He recognized computers as the way to success. He bought 2 Macintoshes for his college-bound kids. He saw the future. The light bulb went off for him as well. Next, I found a family that was centered in Stanford. The father was an engineer, a research engineer at Stanford Research Institute. His son, only 16 years old, kind of like a Thomas Edison, was a boy genius. He'd already invented a computer program for Apple for the previous models. Now he adapted it for the Macintosh. The program he invented was called Music Construction Kit. It was brilliant. You launched the program, and on your screen, you had a keyboard. Now, using your mouse, you're clicking notes on the keyboard, noodling around until you found a melody you liked, then you played it back. Oh, this is nice. Hit save, hit print, and out comes sheet music. Oh, it's horrible. That matrices, of course. Remember, it took 20 minutes for one sheet to go. But out you had sheet music. Out came sheet music that any musician could look at and play. Hey, you wrote a nice song, but I'm an idiot. Now, the final family that I found was on the opposite end of the economic spectrum. This was a family that the father was a janitor at a high school. He hadn't gone to college. He thought janitor was the best he could do. But he was determined his 2 daughters were not going to follow in his footsteps. His 2 daughters were going to be professionals. So he wanted to get a Macintosh for his daughters. However, the Macintosh was $2,500 back then. Translated into today's dollars, that's $7,000 on a janitor's salary. But he dug into his wallet, bought one, learned how to use it, taught it to his girls, and that was his story. The film I made was a success. It got me my master's degree. It played on a cable station in the whole Bay Area. And then when I returned to Los Angeles, where I'd been editor of the Hollywood Reporter, and that was my home base, I went to PBS's affiliate there, showed him my little film, told him about an idea I had for a documentary about comedians, how their life experience shaped their particular slant on comedy. The result was Carl Reiner's The Light Stuff. It earned me an Emmy and launched a career. Now, least I pat myself on the back too much. There is a postscript to this story. And what is that postscript? It's a postscript about a light bulb that should have gone off. I was so immersed in covering this budding computer revolution that I didn't recognize the financial revolution in tech. I spent $2,500 for this Apple Macintosh, but had I spent another $1,000, and Nate, you would appreciate this, I know you are into the stock market, that $1,000, if I let it ride, $1,000 worth of Apple stock to today would be worth, come on, let's throw out some ideas.
$1 million.
$1.3 million. I missed out on that, but I think there's a lesson here, and the lesson here is bet on the inevitable. The light bulb should be going off for all of us. There are all kinds of revolutions right now going on in robotics, DNA gene splicing, artificial intelligence. Some company is going to be the vanguard. They're going to be the breakout company, just like Apple was with the Macintosh. That's why I say your light bulb should be going off, and keep your eyes open and your checkbook ready.